First of all, congratulations on landing an interview. It's not easy to get to this step, so you should be really proud of yourself. Your first job interview in Canada could be pretty overwhelming. You might be a new grad, you might be a newcomer in Canada, or you might just be someone who's starting to look into the job market for the first time. Usually, when this is your first time to go through an interview in Canada, you might not be familiar with the format, the type of questions that are being commonly asked, and the expectations from you. In this video, I'll walk you through 5 most common questions in an interview in Canada, as well as some of the best answers. And I'm hoping that would help you with your stress level and with your practice, and hopefully you will ace your interview. Let's dive in. Before we go through those 5 questions, I want to walk you through some of the key points when it comes to the overall context around a Canadian interview. So first of all, Canadian interviews, generally speaking, are pretty structured and organized and mostly behavioral based, meaning that the employer really wants to know some of the examples of how you handle a certain scenario or a certain challenge. Most of the times, employers want to test you if you're a cultural fit here in Canada. What that means is that when it comes to Canada, there's a big focus on relationships, collaboration, and teamwork. The last point that I want to raise is that, generally speaking, it makes it easier for you if you leverage a STAR method. Situation, task, action, and result. When you answer a question, it makes your answer to the point and well structured. Pretty much the first question that any interview would ask you is, tell me about yourself. And although this sounds like an easy question, you'd be surprised to know how many people don't even pass through this step. There are few points to really focus on. First of all, time yourself, not just for this question, for every single question. For this question specifically, you can take a bit longer. It should not be more than 2 minutes. Don't be one of those people who talk about themselves for the first 15-20 minutes of the interview. You are not gonna get that job. When you talk about yourself, you wanna specifically talk about 3 things. First of all, who you are. What's your education? What's your experience in the past? The second one is what you do. What kind of a skill set and achievements you gained in the past. And then the last one is, why are you here? Not necessarily related to the company, but specifically about the role. What is about you that make you fit this specific role that you're interviewing for? I always start from my experience back in the mining industry, and I sneak in some of the transferable skill set that I know it's critical for the role that I'm interviewing for. Then I switch to why I transitioned to the banking industry and how was the transition. What I want to show to the interviewer is that I am capable of change. I've done transition in the past. I know I can do it again. If you have even 2 job experience into different company, you might want to very lightly sneak in the fact that you had a transition and how you basically handle that transition. Then I talk about my most relevant experiences. I talk about any transferable skill set that I've learned in the past few years in my current role, how I'm relevant to that job, and how my skill set, my overall baggage of working in different countries, my global experience, my education made me fit for this specific role that I'm interviewing for. One of the most common questions here in Canada is that, why do you want to work here? And the employer's really asking these questions to know, A, if you've done your research or if you're one of those people who just mass apply for any job out there. Now, how do you want to answer this question? First of all, you want to research the company inside out. Specifically, you want to look into what's their mission, vision, and values. Then you want to go to Google News and then search for the name of company in the news. What are the latest things? And you would sort it by the most recent. You want to know what is the latest things that they've done. If they've done any merger and acquisition, if they've done any expansion, Now you're going to use that for two purposes. One is that you want to talk about you're excited about joining that company because you resonate with one thing that you find out, or two things that you find out. So either through their mission, vision, and core value, you find something that you're genuinely interested in and it resonates with you. You also, beyond the company, you want to also talk about the role specifically, and what about that role also excites you the most. The second point is that when you look at the news specifically, especially if they've done some sort of an expansion, merger and acquisition, if you feel comfortable, you might want to ask later on at the end of the interview, when they ask you for if you have any question, you want to ask a question about that. Another common question is, tell me about a situation or tell me about a time when you faced a challenge or conflict at work. And so the employers ask this question specifically. This is more of a behavioral question, and they ask this question specifically to understand how you do problem solving. But especially in Canada, they also are interested to know how you handle conflict in general. And so again, the best way to answer this question is you need to have several examples. You need to practice them, and they need to be within 2-3 minutes time frame, and you really need to follow the STAR method. So STAR method, again, situation. You want to set the context. What was that situation? T, the task. What was your responsibility in that situation? Action. What did you do to handle that conflict or challenge? And then result. What was the output, and if there was any lesson learned that you want to mention. For me, I would answer it that I was leading a project and we had multiple stakeholders from different teams, and I was dependent on one of the teams to provide us some deliverables so we can package it together and deliver the overall project. But when I was reaching out to the lead from the other team, I would feel some hesitancy and some defensiveness. And so I set up a meeting with that person. I set up a coffee chat with that person, very casual. And then I opened up. I was pretty open and honest with them. And I said, I feel some hesitance when we reach out to you for the work from your side to be delivered. Do you have any concerns that we can work together? And so they very appreciative of me being open with them, and they raised some of the concerns that they had about how and the method that we're delivering the work. And so we discussed it, and some of the concerns we addressed it just through discussing it, and some of the concerns were very valid and something that we didn't consider initially. So we integrated those concerns to be addressed through our project, and then we worked together and delivered the work timely and on budget. One other common question is that, what are your strengths and weakness? Don't you hate that question? You want to find out which of your strength is the most relevant to make you successful in that role. When it comes to your weakness, you need to be very careful. You don't want to talk about a weakness that sounds so big that they might not hire you because now they have some concerns around you. One of the easiest, safest ones, I would say, is public speaking. My biggest weakness is that I don't feel confident and comfortable with public speaking. And what I've been doing to improve on that is that I'm joining Toastmasters. I'm taking some courses online, and we can, provide examples. And I also, in the past role I had, if you had any job experience in the past, even some voluntary job experience, you can say, I've been volunteering to present, so then I can put myself in those uncomfortable situations so I can learn and become more confident when presenting something. Usually the last question that the employers ask is, do you have any question for us? Sadly, it's quite common that people say, no, I don't have any question. That's terrible, because you leave that impression on the employer that you're not engaged and you don't really care. Always prepare at least 5 questions. Oftentimes the questions that you have might have been already answered through the interview question, especially if you have a longer interview period. So you want to have some backups. My favorite question is that, What's your biggest challenge that you hope to overcome by hiring me? Another favorite of mine is that what success looks like for this role. And usually with these two questions, I find out that the employers get really excited and they open up and they start sharing some real information. I'll list some more questions down below. Now some bonus tips. Dress professionally. Do not wear sandals. I beg you to not do that. You want to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early in the lobby. And the main reason is that you never can predict things that could happen during your commute. The next one is to practice your answer. If you know you have an interview in a week, you need to start preparing and practicing today and every day. Prepare in front of mirror and record yourself. Those always helps you. I know the first time that you look at mirror or the first time that you record yourself, you're probably gonna hate that and it just seems awkward, but just keep doing it. You're really improving your communication and your interview skills by doing that. You want to have examples. So for every answer that you provide, you don't want to sound like a notebook. You don't want to sound scripted. And the last and most important piece is to follow up. When you leave the interview, try to put together a draft. And when you're relaxed, then send that thank you emails. But that thank you email should be really within 24 hours, in my opinion. Now you know how to handle a Canadian interview. Although we only walked through 5 main questions, we walked through strategies on how to really look into any other question and prepare them to be able to ace your Canadian interview. I wish you best of luck in your interview, and just remember that this might be your first interview, but this is not gonna be your last interview. So just remember that life will be full of opportunities. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please subscribe so you're not gonna miss any of the future videos and career advice that I will be sharing. Till next time.